My wife lost it when my stepdaughter called me dad. Then, in the middle of the argument, she admitted she'd leave me instantly if her late husband were still alive. That was the moment I realized I was never truly her first choice. Hello, Reddit I plus here. I never thought a single word could destroy my marriage. Not screaming, not cheating, not violence. Just one word. Dad. I'm 38. My wife Sabrina is 36. We've been together for 11 years, married for 7. She lost her first husband, Terrence, in a motorcycle accident when their daughter Ava was barely 2 years old. Ava is 13 now, and apparently I was never supposed to matter to her. I met Sabrina at a grief support fundraiser. Back then, she carried sadness like a permanent shadow. She barely laughed, barely slept. Every room in her apartment looked frozen in time, like Terrence had only stepped out for groceries and might walk back in any minute. Photos everywhere, his jacket still hanging by the door, his toothbrush untouched in the bathroom. I understood grief, or at least I thought I did. I never tried to replace him, never wanted to. I was just the guy who stayed, the guy who assembled Barbie dream houses at midnight because Ava cried when the instructions got confusing. The guy who learned how to braid hair from YouTube videos because Sabrina said she was too emotionally exhausted. The guy who attended every science fair, every soccer game, every dance recital, every parent meeting. I work from home teaching literature classes online, so during the lockdown, Ava and I spent almost every day together. Somewhere along the line, she stopped seeing me as mom's husband and started seeing me as safe. We bonded over fantasy novels, model kits, terrible disaster movies, and our mutual obsession with mint chocolate chip ice cream. She'd come into my office after school and flop onto the couch, saying things like, "You won't believe what happened today." And honestly, those were my favorite moments. Meanwhile, Sabrina stayed trapped in the past. Every Friday after work, she visited Terrence's grave. Every Sunday, she took Ava there for family time. She never missed an anniversary related to him. Birthday, death date, wedding anniversary, the date they met, the date they got engaged. I tried to be respectful about it because grief doesn't come with an expiration date. But over the years, it stopped feeling like grief. It started feeling like worship. And I was just some background character helping her maintain the shrine. Still, I loved them both enough to ignore the discomfort until Ava's birthday. That's when everything exploded. Ava had been begging for this ridiculously expensive collector's edition fantasy series for months. Out of print. Hard to find. I spent weeks hunting it down online. When she opened it, she completely lost it. She screamed. Actually screamed. Then she launched herself at me, hugging me so tightly, I almost dropped the box set. And through tears, she said, "Thank you, Dad." The room went silent. I froze. Ava froze. Sabrina's face changed instantly. Not hurt, not surprised, enraged, pure rage. Ava awkwardly grabbed her books and ran upstairs while Sabrina stared at me like I'd committed some unforgivable betrayal. Then she exploded. "You encouraged this?" I said. I didn't tell her to say anything. She already has a father. I know that. "No, you clearly don't." The yelling got worse from there. She started pacing around the kitchen, saying I was overstepping, manipulating Ava, trying to erase Terrence. I kept telling her that wasn't true. Then she said the sentence that completely shattered something inside me. "If Terrence walked through that door alive right now, I would divorce you immediately." Just like that. No hesitation. No guilt. Like I was nothing. Like the last decade meant absolutely nothing. I remember staring at her, wondering if she even realized what she'd admitted out loud. Then she kept going. "You read bedtime stories and help with homework. That doesn't make you her father." I asked quietly, "Then what exactly am I here for?" And she answered without thinking. "To help us? Us. Not family, not marriage. Help." Like I was hired staff. That night, I slept in the guest room, staring at the ceiling until sunrise. Ava knocked on the door around midnight. She looked terrified. The poor kid thought she caused everything. She kept apologizing over and over, saying, "I shouldn't have called you that." And honestly, that broke me more than Sabrina's words did. I told her she had nothing to apologize for. Then she asked me something I still think about constantly. "Why does mom get mad every time someone loves you?" I had no answer. For the next 3 months, things got uglier. Sabrina acted like nothing happened. No apology, no accountability. Instead, she doubled down. She started correcting Ava anytime she got too affectionate with me. One evening, Ava yelled from the kitchen, "Can Dad help me with my project?" Sabrina immediately snapped, "Don't call him that." The silence afterward was horrible. Ava looked humiliated. I looked numb. And Sabrina acted completely justified. That's when I started noticing something disturbing. Sabrina only valued me when I was useful. School pickups, cooking, laundry, tutoring, bills, emotional support. But emotionally, I was kept at arm's length like loving me too much would somehow betray a dead man. Then came the dance recital. Ava landed the lead role in a regional performance of Swan Lake. Huge moment for her. I took off work early, bought flowers, dressed nice. Sabrina never showed up. No call, no text, nothing. Ava kept scanning the audience the entire performance. Afterward, she smiled for photos, but the second we got to the car, she burst into tears. Not graceful movie crying either, ugly heartbreak crying, and through sobs, she whispered, she would have come if it was Dad, meaning Terrence, not me. That was the moment something inside me finally died, not my love for Ava. Never that. But my hope that this marriage could ever be healthy. A week later, I packed a suitcase while Sabrina was at work. Ava came home early and caught me loading boxes into my car. The look on her face still haunts me. She said, "You're leaving me too?" I almost stayed right then. God, I almost did. But I knew if I stayed, I'd spend the rest of my life begging for scraps of love from a woman emotionally married to a ghost. So I sat Ava down and explained as gently as I could that none of this was her fault. She cried. I cried. It was awful. Then she hugged me and said, "You're still my dad even if Mom says you're not." I nearly lost it right there in the driveway. After I moved out, Sabrina started panic calling nonstop. At first she framed it as concern, then guilt, then anger. Finally, the truth came out. I can't do this alone. I miss you. Not, I love you. Not, please come home, just, I need help. Apparently she hadn't realized how much I actually handled until I stopped doing it. Ava stopped talking to her as much. The house became chaotic. Grades slipped, dance practices got missed, laundry piled up, meals became takeout every night, and suddenly the man who wasn't family mattered a whole lot. Last week, Sabrina came to my apartment unannounced. She cried harder than I've ever seen, said she made a mistake, said grief ruined her, said she was afraid letting Ava love me meant losing Terrence forever. Then she asked if we could try counseling. And maybe that should have moved me. Maybe it would have a year ago. But all I could think about was this. You shouldn't have to threaten to leave before your spouse finally sees your value. So yesterday, I filed for divorce. Ava knows. She asked if she could still call me sometimes. I told her she can call me whenever she wants for the rest of her life. Because biology doesn't make someone a parent. Showing up does. And for 10 years, I showed up. The divorce papers hit Sabrina harder than I expected. Not because she didn't see it coming. Because she genuinely believed I would cave. For years, every disagreement in our marriage ended the same way. I'd apologize first. I'd smooth things over. I'd sacrifice comfort to keep peace in the house. So when I finally stopped chasing her, she looked completely unprepared for it. 2 days after she got served, my phone started exploding. 31 missed calls, voice messages ranging from sobbing to furious screaming. One of them actually said, "You're abandoning us after everything we've been through together." Us. Funny how suddenly I was included in that word now. I didn't respond. Not because I wanted revenge. I just had nothing left to say. But Ava kept calling. At first it was small things, homework questions, book recommendations, asking if I remembered where her old dance shoes were. Then the calls got heavier. One night around 11, she whispered, "Mom's crying again." Another night, she keeps staring at old photos for hours. Then eventually, she says you destroyed our family. That one made my stomach twist. I asked carefully, "What do you think?" Ava went quiet for a long moment before saying, "I think she destroyed it a long time ago, and you just got tired." Out of the mouths of 13-year-olds. A week later, Sabrina demanded we meet in person to talk like adults. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our places. She looked awful. Not dramatic movie awful either, real awful. Dark circles, wrinkled clothes. Exhausted in a way that sleep doesn't fix. For a second, I almost forgot everything and just felt sad for her. Then she started talking. At first, it sounded promising. She admitted she'd spent years comparing me to Terrence. She admitted she pushed me away emotionally because fully loving me felt like betraying him. Then she said something that ruined the entire conversation. "I just thought you understood your role." Role. There it was again. Not husband, not partner. Role. Like I'd been cast in a supporting position in the story of her grief. I asked her quietly, "Did you ever actually love me, or did you just love that I made your life easier?" She looked offended. Actually offended. Then she said, "Of course I loved you." I asked, "Enough to choose me?" Silence. That silence told me everything. Because people who truly love you don't need time to answer that question. She finally whispered, "It's complicated." No, it really isn't. You either build a life with the person standing beside you, or you spend your life kneeling at the altar of someone who's gone. And I was done competing with a memory. When I got home that night, I cried harder than I had since leaving. Not because I regretted the divorce, because I finally accepted that my marriage had probably been emotionally dead for years. I'd just been too loyal to admit it. Then came the worst part. Ava started pulling away from Sabrina hard. Apparently, after I left, they started fighting constantly. Sabrina tried forcing the grave visits again. Ava refused. That caused a massive argument. And according to Ava, it ended with Sabrina yelling, "You wouldn't even exist without your father." Ava shot back, "Yeah, and I wouldn't know how to live without Caleb. That's me." Apparently, Sabrina slapped the kitchen counter so hard it cracked one of the tiles. After that, Ava started spending more time at friends' houses just to avoid being home. Then one Friday evening, there was a knock at my apartment door. I opened it and nearly had a heart attack. Ava was standing there with a backpack and red swollen eyes. She said, "Can I stay here tonight?" I immediately let her in. Turns out she and Sabrina had another huge fight, this time over a school event. There was a fathers and mentors dinner organized by Ava's dance academy. Students could bring any important male role model in their life. Ava wanted to invite me. Sabrina lost her mind. According to Ava, she screamed, "You are disrespecting your father's memory." And Ava finally snapped. "No, Mom, you are disrespecting mine." That sentence hit me like a truck when she repeated it. Because she was right. Sabrina had spent so much time preserving the memory of her dead husband that she ignored the emotional reality of the living child standing in front of her. That night, Ava sat on my couch eating microwave noodles while venting for nearly 3 hours. At one point, she looked at me and quietly asked, "If you and Mom divorce, do I lose you too?" I answered instantly, "Never." And I meant it. I may not have shared her DNA, but that kid was part of my soul now. The next morning, Sabrina showed up at my apartment panicking because Ava had turned her phone off. The second Ava saw her through the window, she froze. Actually froze. That scared me more than yelling ever could. Sabrina came inside crying immediately, apologizing over and over, saying she was overwhelmed and didn't mean the things she'd said. Ava listened silently, then asked one question. "Why do you hate that I love him?" Sabrina broke down completely, couldn't even answer, just crying into her hands. And honestly, for the first time, I saw the truth clearly. Sabrina wasn't evil. She was emotionally trapped. She had built her entire identity around being Terrence's widow. Moving forward probably felt like erasing him, so instead of healing, she stayed frozen. And she accidentally froze her daughter there too. But people can understand your pain and still refuse to drown beside you. Eventually, Ava agreed to go home. Before leaving, she hugged me tightly and whispered, "You're the only dad I remember." I had to shut the door before they saw me cry. The divorce is still ongoing now, messy but moving. And here's the strangest part of all this. I don't hate Sabrina anymore. I pity her. Because she lost two husbands, one to death and one to grief.